So, you're trying to grow your business, and you've hit a wall. You know you need serious marketing leadership, but you really don't have a budget for that kind of top-tier hire. Today, we're going to talk about a solution that might just change how you think about growth altogether.
Does this sound familiar? I mean, this is the classic catch-22 for so many founders, right? You need that high-level strategy to break through to the next level, but that C-suite salary that comes with it, it just feels completely out of reach. It's a really frustrating place to be, and trust me, you are not alone.
So this is the real question, isn't it? How do you get that brilliant strategic mind, the one who can find your best marketing channels and build a real, sustainable growth engine without that massive, eye-watering price tag? Well, it turns out there's an answer, and it's a total game changer for startups.
Okay, so first, let's talk about the traditional path, the one everyone thinks they're supposed to take, and, more importantly, why it so often turns into a trap for growing companies. Hiring a full-time CMO seems like the logical next step, but the reality is rarely that simple.
The core issue really boils down to this. You're paying for a cannon when all you really need is a laser-guided missile. A full-time CMO is a huge investment, but honestly, most startups don't have the scale, the 10 different channels or the huge team, to actually keep them busy on high-level strategy for 40 hours a week. You just end up burning cash for idle time.
And that investment? It's staggering. We're talking 80 lakhs to over 1.5 crore rupees a year, once you factor in salary, benefits, equity, the whole shebang. For that kind of money, you need every single hour to deliver incredible value. But for most startups, it just doesn't work out that way.
And on top of the cost, there's a speed problem. You get an executive coming from a big corporate background, and they're just used to a different pace of life. It can often take them months, not weeks, to really get up to speed, understand your market, and actually start making an impact. And that's time a startup just doesn't have.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. It's a total culture clash. Startups need agility, right? You need a strategy ready in 2 weeks, not 2 quarters. But corporate habits often bring that slow, structured planning, bureaucracy. And that can grind a fast-moving startup to a dead stop.
So if the old model is basically broken for startups, what's the alternative? This brings us to the good part, the solution. So let's meet the hero of our story, the fractional CMO. It's a modern, agile, and way more cost-effective answer to this leadership problem. So what exactly is a fractional CMO? Well, here's the most important part. This isn't just a consultant who drops off a fancy strategy deck and disappears. A true fractional CMO is a strategic operator. They actually embed in your team part-time. They own the strategy, they guide the execution, and they are accountable for the results. Their value is immediate. They're basically plug-and-play leaders. They're built for the startup world, so they can jump right in, clarify your positioning, find the leaks in your funnel, and set real, actionable KPIs for your team. It's all about focus, not fluff. And they don't show up empty-handed. Great fractional CMOs bring their own battle-tested toolkits. We're talking AI dashboards, campaign playbooks, standard operating procedures for managing agencies, you name it. This means they are incredibly efficient. They get more done in fewer hours because they're already running on a proven system.
Now, this all sounds pretty great, but let's talk numbers, because for most businesses, that's what it comes down to. And it's not just about spending less, it's about spending smarter. So let's put these two options head to head.
And when you see it all laid out like this, well, the choice becomes pretty darn clear. The annual investment plummets from a potential 1.5 crore to under 50 lakhs. The time it takes to see an impact shrinks from months down to just a few weeks. You get a flexible commitment, low overhead, basically all of the strategy without any of the baggage.
This chart really makes the financial argument stark, doesn't it? You're looking at a commitment that's less than a third of a full-time hire. But this isn't just about saving money. It's about freeing up that capital to reinvest in what actually drives growth. More ad spend, better content, or the experiments that are going to move the needle.
Okay, so how do you know if your startup is actually ready for this? Let's run through a quick 5-point diagnostic. If you find yourself nodding along to even just a couple of these, it's probably time to start thinking about fractional leadership. First signal, Your marketing feels scattered. You're posting on social, you're running a few ads, you're sending some emails, but you can't really connect any of it to real compounding growth or ROI. You're busy, for sure, but you're not actually building momentum. This is a classic sign you need focus.
All right, signal number 2, and this is a big one. Your founder is still the acting head of marketing. If the CEO is the one personally writing ad copy or setting up email campaigns, that is a huge red flag. A founder's time is your most valuable asset, and that is not a scalable way to use it, period.
What about this one? Your ad spend is consistent. Your team is putting out content, but that growth curve is just flat. This means something is broken deeper in your strategy. Maybe it's your positioning, your funnel, your channel mix. A fractional CMO is an expert at diagnosing and fixing this exact problem.
Or maybe it's this. You have a fantastic team of doers. You've got a hardworking marketer, a great content writer. The problem is nobody is setting the overall direction or owning the final outcome. Your team has all this horsepower, but right now, nobody is actually steering the ship.
And finally, are you gearing up for a funding round? Because investors don't just want to see a cool product, they want to see a clear, repeatable go-to-market plan. A fractional CMO can build that plan, create the performance dashboards, and craft the marketing story that gives investors real confidence.
So ultimately, this whole model forces us to reframe the conversation. The question is no longer about whether you can afford a title on your org chart, it's about making a smarter investment. So ask yourself this: are you ready to stop funding a role and start funding results?